Hey guys, Jason here with Andrew, back with another Duel Masters tier list video. Now, this is actually our second take recording this video because my computer died when we were doing the first take and the recording wasn't saved. But I am choosing to see this as a good thing because now we're gonna have a much quicker and focused discussion on where the decks go.
Is
I
it?
wouldn't-
Sorry,
I
I
don't-
just it was too funny.
So, just some background. We really like the tier list video format, and the German Duel Masters channel did put up some templates. However, I don't feel qualified to really rank those decks. And well, actually, as Andrew and I realized in our other recording, we're actually not very qualified to rank our own decks either, because a lot of the season one decks haven't seen play in so long. For some quick parameters, what we're going to do is we're going to take the general concept and archetype or skeleton for the deck that we have, and then we're going to try to assume that improvements are made to it. Like for example, with the water deck, we don't play coral anymore, but it'll probably play unicorn fish. We'll make those sort of assumptions. Okay, so ready to get this party started, Andrew?
For the second time.
Yeah, for the second time. See, party's still going. Come on.
Yeah. We can do quick fire round.
Yeah, rapid fire round.
Rapid
So
fire round.
we have mono water in B tier. Andrew, do you want to explain to the good people why we have it in B tier?
Well, we kind of reached the conclusion that Modern Water was like our deck that we always test against for every new deck that or every new concept that we have. Just because it's a good baseline. It's not too fast. It's not too slow.
Yeah,
So it's a good test, and it's a perfect fit for the B tier, right in the middle.
not too fast though. In saying that, when you're getting whacked by Spin Slicer on turn two, that seems pretty fast. And if the deck has like Lucky Ball, I mean, we should have put Lucky Ball in this
Yeah, we
from
should
the
play.
very
Why did we
beginning.
play Lucky Ball?
Maybe this should be an A tier. No, I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's the top of B. It's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, top of B. I'll accept that.
Do you want to
Okay.
explain these tiers a bit?
Oh yeah, so let's just assign. So S means dominant matchup spread or dominant matchups. Uh, and then A is strong matchups. B is like okay matchups, like break even-ish.
Even matchups.
Yeah, even matchups. Or like lots of even matchups, I guess. And then C is
What do we
needs to
have
be
in this one?
lucky.
Oh, it needs to be lucky. Yeah.
Needs to be lucky. And then D is straight up meme deck, meme territory. All right.
Okay.
I think these are pretty self-explanatory, so we can keep going.
All right.
All right,
Next
so
is
next.
Marino.
So this is a deck in the other the original recording. We spent a lot of time talking about how our Marino list kind of sucked because we didn't really know what we wanted to do with it. I
Yeah.
think in hindsight, I think you just accept that it's the kind of deck that is inherently slow but can build up a lot of card and board advantage. So you kind of circumvent the inherent issues by trying to smooth out the mana curve. So, maybe cut down from 4 to 3 Terrapits and Holy Alls. You cut down on the Lost Soul, and then you play stuff like more Locos or more Clamps, things of that nature. And of course, a lot of 3 drops like Hulkus and Tajamal. Um,
I think
my argument for
now I
keeping,
remember the
yeah,
perfect phrase for this. I think this deck has an identity crisis.
yeah.
Um,
I guess
well, I guess we
with
had an identity crisis for this deck.
yeah, I think that's more on us because
Yeah.
if you look at the final list, it plays a lot of low cost creatures and then Petrova, and then the curve accelerates.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we got it to a decent place, but I think it lost a lot in season one, and so you could argue that it should be C, but I feel like with small changes, and like the fact that it plays Petrova and Clamp,
It has too many good
it should be
cards.
bottom of B. Yeah, it has too many good cards to be in C.
Yeah. No, I think it belongs in B. It
Yeah.
like it doesn't get wrecked that badly by anything, I think.
Yeah, it's like 40-60 against everything.
Oh,
Yeah, all right,
man.
not bad.
Okay.
All right, Hydrus, your turn.
Man, we are going so fast.
We want to
It's
be
almost like
considerate
we've
of the
done this
viewers' time.
before.
We need to make sure that the previous session wasn't for nothing.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's another deck that seems to do okay against everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But my argument, and this is where I differ from Jason, is that I think it's a bit better than Mono Water.
Wow.
Because, yeah, look at that drastically different opinion. But no, my argument for it is because it has Holy Ore. And a kind of like a consistent way of getting that out. So there we go. There's my case.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and like the deck also has more gears. Like the fact that you have Loco means that you don't just get totally ripped apart by like Pyro or Baz if they survive.
Yeah.
And then you actually have real permanent spot removal. And it has so many trigs, right? So it's good against other aggro decks.
Yeah, it just always feels
And
like
then-
this deck always has a chance, right? Whereas, I mean, partially that is because it has Oleo, but the like Model Water does not. I think like you know what it's gonna lose.
That's fair. And even like with the burst win scenario, right? Like you're playing 4 copies of Hydrus versus 1 to 2 copies of Paladins. So in that regard, it's more consistent.
Yeah.
I do think that if we update our season 1 water list, so you take out the meme picks like the Typhoon, T-Dad stuff, you replace Corile, it becomes drastically better because the Lucky Ball becomes way more consistent.
Yeah,
so the early game of the water deck will be so much better than the
Yeah.
early game of the Hydrus
Yeah,
deck.
that's true. I guess the like the highs of the Mono Water.
Yeah. Because I feel like with Hydrus, even though we like Lucky Ball in it, it kind of stumbles. It's still kind of
A
awkward.
little bit clunky. McClunky.
Yeah. So I have a preference for Mono Water. I still think Mono Water is better, even though. And actually, you can play Holy on this Mono Water.
Yeah, you
deck
can as well.
Plays Emerald.
You could also you can play Emerald.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right,
So-
fine. I mean, I won't go back on what I said in the beginning that Mono Water should be top on B.
Yeah. All right. Fair.
Okay.
All right. Next,
What do we have next?
we've got Rub Control.
Don't worry, I'm just
or, like,
placing it here for now. Don't worry, it's not gonna be.
Yeah. So, Water Dark Fire, air quotes, control, or as the online people may refer to it as mid-range. I think this deck has, at least in Season 1, right? It had very strong matchups.
Yeah, for sure. This deck, I always did not like playing against it. Yeah, I was telling Jason earlier that another way of viewing this deal is how much we hate playing against these decks.
Yeah. I do think that it can get run over, but in general, it doesn't. The only randomly bad matchup it has, in my
So
opinion,
weird.
is Twin Cannon Turbo, because this deck is very good because it ramps quite well, but Twin Cannon Turbo ramps very well also, and attacks with Twin Cannon, so like the board wipes don't really do much.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's so weird. But I think this is also like a product of its time, and I think you're gonna hear us say that a lot this video, because it doesn't do quite as well against the Season 2 decks, but or at least like the really top Season 2 decks, but it's extremely solid, I think.
Yeah, I guess we were also discussing the possibility of playing Meltdown in the stick as well.
Yeah. There's one meltdown, one pyre, one crystal memory.
Yeah,
We can
Crystal-
squeeze those in, right?
That's all you need.
Yeah. What about Ghastly Drain? So you can. So if you're playing against a control deck, you could do the OTK.
Yeah, why not? No, I think Ghastly Drain is too inconsistent, right?
Yeah, it's way too inconsistent.
It's like
but,
it's like a dead card,
yeah.
whereas the others are not.
And we were also talking about how if you find that the early game of this deck is shaky, you just put in Spiral Gate. Damien was right this whole time. Spiral Gate is insane.
Oh man. I also just
right.
wonder, this is just food for thought. I also
Yes.
wonder how OP Spiral Gate actually is. Like, is it actually that good, or is it just because all our decks, like, it's good against all our decks?
But then the fact that it's good against all the decks, doesn't that mean it's objectively OP?
Yeah, that's true, right? But then, like,
'Cause
why hasn't it been
it's a pretty
picked
big
up
range.
as much?
No, it's being picked up in the IDC. Like a lot of, well, not a lot, but a handful of control decks are running it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is like Hall of Fame in the OCG. So.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Next, Light Water Nature Aggro, aka Beast Folk Mafia, represented by the pig. Now, I had this in A tier. Andrew wasn't so convinced, but I think with the extrapolation,
I think you've convinced me
yeah,
because it's my
we swap
baby.
out, and like, if we swap out Mist Rias and Mana Nexus for Lucky Ball and Sky Sword, and then find a way to squeeze in Soul Swap,
Swap, yeah.
you know,
I don't know why we
that's
didn't
money
have Soul
right
Swap.
there.
It's like it's even good to soul swap Mysterious.
I remember because in season 1 we wanted to make it super balanced, and I guess if you look at seasons 1, 2, and 3, season 1 is the most balanced format. We wanted to give Soul Swap to the decks that really needed it, like that used it as a crutch almost.
Yeah, whereas this deck could do without it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this deck's so good, and there's also lots of ways to play it. The skeleton's very strong.
Yeah, and it runs Barkwhip. What other deck runs Barkwhip?
I think you're making a case against this deck, Andrew. I mean, you're supposed to be making a case for this deck.
And Mana Nexus.
Alrighty. So, moving on to Wave Strikers. This is another one of our disagreements.
Oh yeah. You
I
don't
had
think
this
this
in
deck is
C.
that good?
Yeah. I really like Wave Strikers, but it's a little too honest because it's not good at ramping. It's not good at building card advantage. You have to play like one card at a time, and then it's so weak to removal. And you know,
Yeah,
even
I guess,
non-control
like-
decks kind of play removal.
Yeah, my always counter argument to that is like it's actually not that easy to remove multiple creatures early game. And
Yeah.
all you need is like 2 to really threaten your opponent. And
Yeah.
I guess I was saying in our first take is that a wild time Gajil, or not even wild time, you just play Gajil. And it really wrecks your opponent.
Though I do feel that the adoption of Spiral Gate really ruins this deck. Because before it was like End of Dragon's Flame, the odd miraculous snare. Or
Yeah,
actually,
which
no,
is
we didn't
not
even play
run
that
in
in
every
season
deck,
one.
right? Until
but Spiral Gate.
Gate. Yeah.
And Phantom Dragon's Flame, so that really ruins it for me, I think.
Yeah, I guess I'm sold on the Spiral Gate. Maybe we should just ban Spiral Gate.
Spiral Gate on Hall of Fame.
That's what the Japanese did. But they were
Yeah,
onto something.
They are onto something. So
Where did you
have I
have this?
convinced? We had it bottom of B last time, but I think it should be in C, honestly.
You still want it to be in C. No, I think
Yeah.
it's too good. I think it's like it doesn't need to be lucky, right? It still has a lot of tools.
Okay, maybe lucky is not the C is like needs to be lucky is our nice way of saying not the most impressive matchup spread.
Yeah, or like I think I visualize C as in like it has to play perfectly to do well.
Ah, the rules of engagement are evolving. All right. Fine. what I said last time to like convince myself to leave this in B is it can play the one-off Cryptic Totem, which in season 3 we learned is like the best way to play it. You just play like 4 Soul Swap. Like in a deck with 4 Soul Swap, you just play like 1 Cryptic Totem if it's a sweaty deck, and so you have an extra like out to winning. And if you think about it, Andrew, Cryptic Totem is actually perfect for this deck because this deck is like the master of like building a giant board and being scared to attack.
Yeah, that's true. Originally, I thought Kilstein would fill that gap, but then, like, I guess it doesn't really. Cause...
Yeah. Kilstein is just like, if you want to revenge, like, there's always a bigger fish. Like,
until Scarlet Sky too.
Yeah. But I remember, like, okay, we need to move on soon, but I remember Kilstein was so important in Season 3 to this deck. Otherwise, Dolgeza would just run it over completely.
Yeah, I remember. Anyway, I think we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, all right, fine. Bottom of B it is.
Don't be so sad.
Okay.
It's a good deck. All of these are good decks. They wouldn't be
dragons
decks otherwise.
My baby.
Nope.
So, spoilers. Yeah, I think this deck needs to be so lucky. It has a really strong high roll, which is how we conceptualized it, and I am so proud of like what we were able to accomplish with this list.
Yeah.
But it's really not that good. It's kind of fragile, and even if you get the early Beula, if you break into Terra Pit, the opponent can like mount a comeback. Yeah. So that's the problem.
Yeah,
but, you know.
The thing I would say about this deck is, like, we haven't really played against the newer decks, so I wonder what matchups that we might be surprised about, like how well it does.
That's true. Like, sometimes you'll just like run over Hydro Hurricane because, nothing can stand up to Beula.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who knows, right?
Yeah, who knows?
And then it doesn't run ramp. So sorry, Hydro Hurricane fans, please don't get upset at me in the comments.
Maybe they just need to play more Beula in IDC.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Light Water Dark Fire Control, air quotes control. This is what we used to call foul control. Holdover of the olden days of just building a super good stuff pile. Synergy be damned. Mana ramp be damned. Just like play your favorite control cards. Yeah, but then like you don't have that. Actually, this was Damien's problem with foul and foul control. The deck doesn't ramp very well, so you can't like foul into one of your power spells on the same turn. Yeah. It's like foul, Phantom Dragon's Flame. That's kind of cute.
Yeah,
that's so it's basically a Meteosaur.
Yeah, like when I think about it, it's so slow. It could be better.
It could be better, but I guess the problem is if we want to extrapolate, is there any way to retool this deck to the point that it's not just an inferior version of Deck Out?
That's the thing, right? Like you still want to keep the identity of the deck, because otherwise all decks will converge into Deck Out.
Oh yeah, that's a wild evolutionary theory. All decks converge to Deck Out.
Because the thing is, you can probably improve this deck by playing some charges or something, right? But then, like, would this be foul? Because foul can't get those.
Yeah. I think it's still reasonable because what you do then is you don't play that many chargers, right? You just play between like 4 to 6, and then every other spell, like your Lost Soul,
you
I don't know,
the
play like. Plague, Snare. I guess like the way this deck evolves, this becomes like Deck Out, but with Volmedius instead of Slash Charger.
Well, you can have Slash Charger still. I think Slash Charger is a pretty good ramp.
Fine. Volmedius instead of Future Slash.
Okay, yeah, sure, yeah. Like you don't use Deck Out as your main win condition.
Yeah, even though you probably can.
Yeah. Okay, well, in that case, can I still put it up here?
Fine, you can put it up there. I do wonder. Maybe the way to actually this is kind of a spoiler and like I'm making myself accountable, but I wanted to do a series where we reviewed all of our decks and tried to establish new identities for the ones that converge towards the same concept.
Yeah.
I won't say any more, but yeah. Anyway, okay, fine. So for the purposes of this video, let's leave old school file control with extrapolation at the bottom of A tier.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All right, this one's gonna be a quickie. Mono Dark, the worms. They can only go in one place, Andrew.
Oh no!
They're a meme.
But what about playing this with some Petrov? Or some Darkness Petrov Shadow Moon?
I think the inherent problem with that is, at least in the TCG, you need something to bind the light and the dark together.
What do you
You know what I mean?
What do you mean by that?
Like, no light.
Oh, right.
Dark
I see.
decks
When you're playing
exist.
Petrov.
Like, yeah, because you need like, I feel like water and nature are like glue civilizations because they are what allow different civs to be played with each other.
Right.
And worms just needs that glue. And I also think that a Marino style worm deck would not be very good because we complain about our like existing Marino deck being slow, and it already does more than like what a Petrov worms decks would do.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we just need some Ultraside.
Yeah, you put in some Ultraside, this goes into S, but the world's not ready for that. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Moving on.
Whatever next.
This was a contentious one in the first take. I put Survivors in A, and Andrew and I spent a good like 10 minutes debating this. And so my argument was that Survivors can fight aggro because they have a lot of early drops and Qtronic to revenge kill, and they have ramp. You could reasonably play +1 spells like the board wipes, and it's very resilient, very strong engine, and it also has a super solid win con. And I hated playing this deck. I mean, against this deck. Because Andrew loves this deck, so I was always on the receiving end.
Yeah, I guess my counter argument, and this is what we discussed about, is that this deck is almost like the dragons in terms of its being really fragile. I know Jason convinced me a little with the fact that like you only really need to get off one factory or grave worm later on in the game, but until you reach that, it feels like you're just top decking for the right card most of the time.
I don't think it's that fragile, but I guess I see what you mean because this deck does play a lot of bricks, right? Like Smash Horn.
Yeah, it plays a lot of bricks,
Blazosaur,
and then all you're doing early game
Arm.
is trying to mana ramp, and then if you get hit by like a cranium clamp, then you're pretty much done.
Oh no!
But yeah,
now you're kind of like
you're kind of. I get your point. Like you just need to hit one card, and then it kind of snowballs insanely out of control.
Yeah. And like hitting the factory is so much better than like hitting the Velorica or the Marino or whatever
that
it is.
Do as much. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for placing my decks in higher tiers, so
this is solidly A for sure. I don't know if it's bottom of A, but let's move on. We can adjust the ranks later.
Okay, now you've convinced me. Foul's not that good.
Okay. So the next deck we'll talk about is Twin Cannon Turbo. Now, if we're looking at our list, it's probably somewhere in like the beat
down
is
here.
it's a meme deck.
No, that doesn't be fair. It's probably here.
Yeah. It behaves like a meme deck, but it's good enough to be in C, based on our current list. But if we were playing this seriously, we weren't just playing like spells so that we could play more spells.
So you got swag with some like Eureka Charger into emergency type.
Yeah. If we were trying to be serious with it, We would play it as like a Bombazar blue style deck without the Bombazar. You play Gonta. Maybe you can play Reap and Sow. I know this shell that sometimes has Twin Cannon, sometimes doesn't, is regarded quite highly in the IDC meta. I think this deck is very good.
I guess my argument to that is it Twin Cannon Turbo anymore if it doesn't even have Twin Cannon? I guess you named this Water, Fire, Nature Turbo.
Yeah. But for argument's sake, if we want to keep Twin Cannon in the deck, I think it is reasonable. You can get away with like 3 copies, 4 Soul Swap, and then just a strong good stuff's Water, Fire, Nature core.
AKA Gonta.
Oh, you got Gonta, Bronze Arm, Hulkus, Lucky Ball.
Yeah, that deck does seem really good. It's almost like Fire Nature Rush.
All aggro decks with water are converging to just like Lucky Ball, you know?
Oh, I think I'm gonna say Fire Nature Rush.
So Andrew, I would put this deck in A tier. I wanted to put it top of A.
What did we decide? I think we've decided to place our list down here.
Yeah, our list is down here. But like in terms of theoretical potential, you know, if we extrapolate, this should be an A tier. I wanted it an S, and then you were like, nah, let's be real. We don't know what the final list looks like yet. Yeah. I was like, okay, fair enough.
I'm scared of things that I don't know.
Yeah. So okay, right. So you don't. It looks like you don't want to move it.
Okay, well, let's put it in C because we need more dicks in C.
So Beula has a friend. All right, the last deck for season 1.
There's one other thing. I guess you kind of mentioned it. Is that this deck has a good matchup against the Water, Darkness, Fire Control for some reason.
It's so weird.
Anyway, who's next?
The Outlier with Toad.
The Outlier, we decided we either create a tier of its own, or I guess we'll just put it in the middle of B for now, because it can beat everything, but then also lose everything. I think it's a little bit more than that, though, I think.
So do you think it wins more than it loses?
No, as in, like, there's a little bit more nuance to the deck. Because I do feel like, yeah, it's like sometimes some decks you just can't win.
yeah, that's true. And it like at least in season 3, the modified Outlier with Fanu, it bullied deck out really hard. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, wow,
that was deck out's only bad matchup.
And, I think it should be up here.
I do wonder how it holds up against the other key players of season 2. Like, I know it's good against Swap Box, for example, but how good would it be against Fortress? I feel like it would be pretty good against Fortress, now that I think about it.
I guess we just...
I mean, Fortress does have, like, Spiral Gate and Snare, but...
Yeah. Yeah, who knows?
Maybe this could be an A?
This could be an S.
I don't know about S, but, like, an A at least. But I guess the problem with the Outlier is that it does have high potential in terms of what it can beat, but a lot of our decks are technically beatdown decks, and they play a lot of defensive shield triggers. You know, like they're heavy on the Emerald, Aqua Surfer.
I guess any decks with blockers, I think this deck will have quite a hard time.
You think so? Even with like Larva Gear and like all the fire spells?
Yeah, well... It'll definitely be a lot harder. Let's just say that, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because like, even with like bottled water, like I think it just dies.
And I guess on the turn where you're getting rid of a blocker is a turn you're not summoning a creature.
Yeah.
And so you're just breaking one at a time.
I mean, if you're talking about the Fanu list, I think it's a lot better, but...
No, well, let's talk about the Larva Gear list.
Yeah. Because Larva Gear itself is quite slow, because you have to play Laura Giga, which doesn't attack.
That's true. All right, so middle of B.
Middle of B it is.
What happened to all your nuance, Andrew? I thought you said it was more nuanced than that. And then
well, in the end, we're Unga Bunga, aren't we? Like this day.
All right. Okay.
Is that the end of season 1?
Yeah, that's the end of season 1. Our most balanced season by far.
Yeah, no one's up here. Look at that.
Yeah. All right. So, Lost Soul beat Water Fire Dark. Sorry, not Fire. Water Nature Dark aggro. This deck is so good.
We didn't put it up here though, right? Did we? I can't remember.
I don't think so. Top of A, I think,
we
is what
put
we
top
were
of
going
A.
with.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because sometimes it can just randomly lose, but in general, it's bullying the crap out of everything.
Yeah, this deck is really, really good. I was
And
surprised that like no one considered Princess Scarab back in the day. I guess it was a relatively new card, given the
Yeah.
TCG lifespan. But yeah, when they played it in DMP, I was like, this must be an OCG card. It's so good.
And it has like the weirdest answers to things. You know, like if people can't answer your Scarab, like if you're afraid you're gonna run out of steam, well, you got like a bunch of Lucky Ball and Energy Stream.
Yeah.
If you want to crash into like a big creature and for some reason Scarab's not big enough, well, you got Fighter Dual Fang. And then, you know, if you want to like get rid of stuff, Terra Pit, Aqua Surfer pretty good. And of course, who can forget Lost Soul, which, I mean, is admittedly not the most consistent card, but it answers a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Which yeah, I think if you're in a situation where you can play Lost Soul, I think you're in a pretty good situation. So
And then the one shout out that I need to make is that I always get his name confused. Is it Make PR or Makerp
yeah.
from the
Yeah.
IDC community? He loves this deck, and he was like, "Hey, have you guys ever tried playing Ice Vapor?"
Oh, I think I say
And
Unicorn Fish, but yeah, we should play
Or yeah,
both.
that too, which we should also play. Yeah, Unicorn Fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ice Vapor is pretty good. So this deck has a lot of it's not just good. It also has like a lot of potential.
Yep.
Okay, moving on now. Warlord Del Zius, Andrew. You were originally a big proponent of the deck, but I am now finding out that you're a bit of a hater. You're a hater, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, in the sense that I thought this deck was much better than it was.
You made a pretty convincing argument earlier, so give the people the lowdown.
The lowdown. I think this deck plays too fairly. Like all you're doing is attacking with a big body. And I know like you can argue that it's pretty hard to get rid of the body, which it is. But I think throughout like over time maybe they just became more and more ways of dealing with it, right? Like you can run it over with some cards. Sometimes I guess like Warlord itself is not that easy to get out.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess it just didn't quite meet my expectations of what this deck should have been.
I see what you're saying. Like you'd think the deck would be more dominant than it is, than it was, at least for us.
Yeah.
Even though admittedly our list was not optimized. We played my boy Illusionary Merfolk. It was his only chance.
That's his only chance, yeah. What do you think about Bingo? Do you think Bingo was right?
Bingle might be wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I do think Bingle might have been incorrect. Can't say for sure. I need to test. But I do think the deck is good enough to be an A. Because if we argue that it's as good as everything in B in terms of power level, the fact that it makes control decks scared, which everything else or a lot of other decks can't really deal with, like in the B tier, that's a very compelling argument. And it's also quite solid against other aggro decks through a combination of like Belix, Emerald, Surfer, Holiol. Maybe not well, Holiol kind of, but Surfer. So A seems about right for it.
How about right here?
I won't fight you on that. I think it is clearly better than like the season 1 decks. And if you want to argue that Scarab is better than Warlord, like
Yeah, I think so.
I can see the argument for that, for sure.
All right.
All right.
In that case, maybe it hasn't disappointed my expectation because it's the second best deck at the moment.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, we do have some heavy hitters. coming up.
Yeah, we do. We've been saving the good stuff. A lot of the stuff that we didn't innovate. So coming all the way from 2005, we got 4-color deck out. So this deck is a clear S tier. Andrew and I spent a good I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, convincing each other that deck out was the bomb. And it's like, what are we convincing each other of? We're both in agreement that this deck is so good.
Yeah, this deck is insane. I hate playing against this deck so much.
Even with the nerfs, you got, Snare at 1, you got Slash at 1, even if you you put an Aerial at 1. Maybe if you
shouldn't be at 1 though. I think it's just, it just hits the stick, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And there's an argument to be made that Nariel being strong, at least in the seasons it was strong, and was a result of the decks not playing much removal, because it's pretty easy to deal with.
Yeah. I guess it's the combination, right, of all of those that makes it
correct.
Pretty busted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we shouldn't really talk about this deck anymore.
Yeah. All right, Pliers. Andrew, you got to do what's right.
Pliers is better than Worms. It's better than Worms.
It plays too many broken cards to not be better than Worms.
Yes, Gauntlet. Gauntlet can probably beat Worms.
By itself?
Yeah.
Gauntlet and Soul Swap, even though is Soul Swap even that good in this deck?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. Yeah. But before we move on, though, I quickly want to talk about how if we extrapolated, if we reconfigured the deck, could it be better?
Some Galamuta. I saw your video, Jason.
Yeah, Galamuta. Oh, thank you. Maybe. Or good. When I put out this deck profile, we got a lot of interesting comments. You could play it as well, actually, you commented before as basically Fire Nature Rush, but though I don't know what new things you're bringing to the table. But if you're extrapolating based on Pliers,
yeah, I think Deco is too meme. You could probably get rid of it, but it's not as fun anymore, though.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to the comments, people mentioned Gajura Butte, who I know you think is a meme, but
I mean, he's less of a meme, but I think he's still a meme.
Or what about Miraculous Rebirth? That fits the colors.
Oh, yeah.
Someone from deck is a pretty good mechanic.
Can you hit Aqua Sapphire to get out Gajura Butte?
That's the ultimate, isn't it?
When all the memes come together.
Yeah. But actually, no. Even with some extrapolation, without turning this into a strictly worse version of Fire Nature Rush, I don't think this is still gonna be that good.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. At least you have Kachua at 5 mana.
Yeah. I'm sure we're gonna get haters in the comments who are gonna be like, "Oh, you're putting Pliers below Bejula? Fire Nature Rush Pliers is better than Bejula." Well, guess what? It's our list, and I do think the Dragon deck with honestly, I think if we just put Volcano Charger in the Dragon deck, it'll be better.
The thing with the Dragon list is I think it still runs okay.
Yeah,
unlike the Pliers.
Yeah, the Pliers are just you need Gauntlet to carry you.
Yeah, you really do. I think the whole deck runs off Gauntlet.
I guess in that case, the Dragon deck can also run Gauntlet, right?
Maybe that's what the Dragon deck needs. It's just some Gauntlet
to police the field.
Yeah, you don't also target as well. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh man, we just solved it.
It's, you know what? This is all stems from the fact that we just don't want to play Gaunt.
Yeah. Gaunt is too good. If it were up to me, if we were still playing, I would consider Hall of Faming it, and then you're just forced to play Snip Striker.
Yeah.
Gaunt is so good.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
All right. We spent way too much time talking about the Pliers. So Hydro Hurricane. Andrew, you're a hater, but not in the way that you hate Elzonius. Hate
Am I
on
hating? No,
Elzonius.
I guess I hate playing against this, but I think it's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I got so much pushback when we were doing the season 2 decks. I was like, we need some control decks. Hydra seems like a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
And then Andrew and Damien were like, no, no, this is the lamest deck
Yeah,
ever.
it's
Which
just
I
so
mean, like,
lame. But I used to think this deck was like probably the best one out of, I
mm,
guess, aside from deck out. But I think that's changed a little bit. A couple of things, I guess, is like there's some 1 mana bricks in this deck, and then no mana ramp, right? Are the two major things.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, the no mana ramp in particular, I think, is very, very annoying because it means that Hydro gets bullied by the other control decks, which ramp extremely well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like can kind of pick it apart. The 1 mana bricks, I'm a little more sympathetic to because they can fight aggro, which comprises
Yeah,
a
so they're
large
not
part.
completely dead, but
You know,
yeah, if they gets control, they're probably not the cards they want to see.
yeah, but this deck does. To be honest, like the curve is very. Maybe it's just hourless. I don't know, but the curve is not the funnest because you got
Hmm.
like the deck kind of pops off after turn 5, but up until that point, you're kind of just like chugging along. If
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
hit Palolesis, it's like, what am I even doing?
yeah, exactly. Like it feels like it doesn't like get off a good start until you have a couple of creatures. And then it really
But,
gets off, I guess.
but man, we're just hating. This deck is so good. This deck is so good.
Although I would say this next deck is what caused Jason's computer to crash.
Yeah, because we got up to this point in the video, and then like we started talking about Fortress Burn, and then my computer just it
I
burned.
couldn't,
Uh,
I couldn't handle it. Oh
so
man.
Andrew, I'm kind of
Oh.
afraid to say anything at this point.
It's okay.
Take it
I'm
away.
driving. And I'll
Yeah.
just put this in front of it. But maybe you have other thoughts, Jason. I used to think Hydro Carrying was better, but I think now my opinion has changed.
Fortress, I find them to be about the same. Their strengths are kind of different. The Fortress Burn experience, at least in 40 cards, is that the deck still needs to win by attacking.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
by virtue of how quickly it goes through itself in order to summon Fortress Shell, some games can feel very delicate because you're like on the verge of decking out, and then you don't attack that quickly. Like our list doesn't run double breakers.
Yeah.
So that can be a little scary. Hydro Hurricane is you demoralize your opponent a lot quicker because I think once you get like 1 or 2 Palas and then like Petrova,
Yeah,
you
that's
just
true.
basically win.
Yeah.
Um, Now, which deck has lower tolerance for BS? I think they're pretty comparable actually, but Fortress does play more active cards,
Maybe
so I
that's
can
why
see
it
why you
feels
prefer
better
it.
to play. At least for
Yeah,
me, right? Is that it just runs a lot better.
yeah, and it also does run more broken cards, right? Like you got Soul Swap and Snare and Clamp in the same deck, and you got like what Sparrowgate, Damien's favorite. So yeah, man, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with Fortress being above Hydra Hurricane.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right.
What do we have next? This
So we
is the
got
toolbox.
Swap Box, or as the online people would call it, Water Dark Fire Nature Midrange. Now, I think our season 2 list is not optimized. Um, but I would put this somewhere in A. I think this deck, the fact that this deck can just like pull wins out of its butt
Yeah.
means like it has to be an A.
Yeah, for
And
sure. I think at least has to be an A.
mm,
Is there a case for higher, do you think?
hmm, I don't think so. As much as I like this deck, I treated it as my baby. I looked at so many OCG style lists about this. I don't think so because the decks in S really like are so dominant. With this, I don't think it's dominant against anything in particular. It's just decent against
Yeah, it's just
everything.
decent. Yeah. I mean, it's not just decent. It's good against everything. Just probably not S tier good.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Should we
So maybe like,
place it around here somewhere?
yeah, I would say you can put it above Bomedius and then below Elzonius. I guess I'm kind of biased because Elzonius beats, I think, Swap Box, and then
Yeah.
it's also pretty good against the control decks. Like, especially if you play your own Petrova and Warlord, I think you should beat Hydro Hurricane. I think you should beat Fortress Shell. Deck out is a bit not too sure, but yeah.
Mm. Yeah, maybe Warlord is just better than I thought, but yeah. Okay, now I'm happy with this.
All right.
Oh gosh, what do we have here?
Balanced Bodge, this is your creation, Andrew. I am so proud of you for
I have
for
no
making
idea where to place this.
Okay. Um, I would say it goes
Probably
in.
be, let's put it here.
You think so? For the normal distribution?
Normal distribution.
Okay. If you're not too sure, allow me to share and then feel free to critique.
Okay.
So with Ballast Bodge, I feel like the deck is sort of an in-between between the Bomedius style control deck and deck out. That's kind of where I position it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think if you're gonna do rub control, Ballast Bodge might actually be the way to do it, like as a proper control deck over
Really?
Bomedius plus like good stuffs. Yeah. Because the win condition that you're building towards is it's very strong. And like it's more consistent with the control play style, which is that you get to a point in the game where you just win.
The thing with
So
that,
the way
Jason,
I
is that it costs so much. It's too much.
12 mana, the way I see it is that in the early turns, you are playing the same as like rub control slash rub mid range or deck out, but you're ramping just as good, if not better. And so you just got to be a bit patient, and then you use cutthroat more against like aggro decks, and yeah.
Well,
It also
I'm glad you view it that positively, because I honestly don't. Because this deck, I think it's warped too much, right? Maybe we don't have the most optimal list, but I feel like the thing is like you have to get to 12 mana in this deck, whereas all the other ones you're happy sitting on like 9 mana, for example. Like you don't
Oh, I
really
see what you
consider
mean.
charging anymore.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
This deck I feel like is actually a lot more fragile than you think, because
Okay.
just by the fact that you have to get to 12 mana, you have to charge
Yep.
every turn, and because of that, if you get hit by like any discard at all, you get set back a lot.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then I guess like the thing with Ballast Barge is it can still get stopped. It's so
Yeah,
annoying.
that's true. That's true.
But any blockers is the main thing I think. Like the Terrapin and shields, you have to be quite lucky.
Yep.
But blockers is definitely a major thing. And this
Yeah,
deck
there's no
honestly doesn't have too many ways of dealing with like blockers at the right time is the
Yeah.
problem. Like if you just play a bunch of blockers, like you can spend your earlier turns getting rid of them. But like if you just play a blocker like the turn that you think Ballast Barge is coming out.
Oh man, you're so smart. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay. You've convinced me. Maybe it is not as good as I thought.
I was actually
Okay.
even considering placing it on there, but I think it should at least be in here.
Right, okay. Yeah, I guess somewhere in the
Sorry,
B tier makes a
yeah.
lot of sense. Maybe like
Maybe
right
like
above
here or
Marino.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do think that with our list, I'm not sure if we got the spell lineup quite right, but the principle still holds. So I am convinced. And
Hmm.
I remember like before I was saying like we should play Pyro, and you were like, nah.
No, I did think actually Pyro was probably pretty good.
Now, before we close off, I also need to acknowledge because a lot of people bring this up, and I see it in on the Japanese websites. Some people play Balisk Bodge as Water, Fire, Nature with Scarlet and Mana Bonanza,
Oh, yeah.
but that seems too gimmicky for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's way too gimmicky.
Yeah.
Maybe with nature, but
Yep.
not with Mana Bonanza.
Yeah.
Scarlet
True
is
Nature gives you
interesting though.
Soul Swap.
Scarlet is actually interesting. If you
Yeah.
run nature, maybe if you run Soul Swap with
Yep.
with Scarlet, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. All right. So, I guess before we spend some more time on this, I think we're approaching an hour. Let's take a quick look at the ordering of the tiers. Now with S tier, I don't think we have any problems here.
Nope. I think I'm pretty happy with that.
A tier, I'm pretty happy with the selection of decks in this tier. And I can also imagine, like, we just pick out these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decks. We optimize them, and then we just keep playing them against each other. I think that will result in a lot of fun matchups.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. I think this order is okay. Maybe these can be changed,
Yes.
but otherwise,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. Rub might be a bit high, actually.
You think Rub is too high?
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable. I think I'm okay with this.
Okay. I was thinking about putting it below Beastfolk Mafia, just because there's an argument to be made that with Beastfolk Mafia and Survivors, if you optimize, they are like you can argue that they're the best at what they do. Whereas even if you optimize
Sure.
this,
Yeah.
it's always going to be worse than like Swap Box or Deck Out.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess like you also have to visualize it in the way that the concept of like Water Dark
Yes.
Fire is probably better than the other two.
Right. Yeah, that is also reasonable. Okay. Nice. B tier. We still got Mono Water on top. That is so interesting. And then like Hydrus. To be honest, I thought Hydrus would be a lot lower. Yeah. Like
I mean, this could probably be higher.
yeah.
I don't know what's happening. We just want to keep this in the middle of everything.
For me, like, even though I really like Hydrus as a concept, the bloom is very much off the rose.
Yeah,
really
you
don't
think it's a
that
product
good.
of its time, eh? I think it's definitely.
It's just like too slow.
No, I think we just used to have Hydras in such a high opinion, and I haven't gotten past it.
For me, I feel like everything in B tier except maybe Wave Strikers has a higher ceiling than Hydrus. But I guess one thing that I might be underplaying is the consistency aspect.
Yeah, I guess
because-
Hydras is very, very consistent.
Yeah. It's not that impressive, but it's really consistent.
Yep.
But dude, this deck just gets like gobbled up by a lot of things. But then it has the speed, so yeah, I don't know. I guess we would have to test Hydras again. Okay,
Even though
whatever.
we always test Hydras. Hydras is like the most played deck.
But yeah, it'd be pretty funny to see our statistics. But it's been a hot minute since season 1.
Yeah, that's true. Eh? Okay, no, I'm happy with this. This is alright.
Yeah. Okay.
And these, whatever. That's fine.
Do you think Wave Strikers still deserves to be in B? It's not in C.
The normal distribution. No, wait. The normal distribution is better like this, right?
I guess.
Yeah, no, I think Wave Strikers is a tad bit better than C.
Okay.
I think it's too.
All right.
It's too consistent, right? To be in C, to be.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Because it always
Right.
does things, right? It's not like it can't do anything sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Whereas these decks definitely you have turns that you can't do anything.
Though in saying that, just so we can get the shot of it, can you quickly move Twin Cannon to A tier?
You really want us to be in A tier?
Just to visualize. Because
where do you... Well, I'll just put it here.
You just put it wherever, but like, if you play a serious version of this deck, this goes perfectly into our A tier like rotation, right? It's like perfect.
Yeah, sure.
8 decks, different styles, and like all very competitive, all very strong.
Not the meme version.
Yeah, not the meme version. But yeah, there we did double duty. It gave 2 entries for Twin Cannon. But fine, you can bring Beula, his friend, back.
Or maybe Beula wants to be in a tier of its own.
I just fear that Beula might be closer to like D tier than to B tier. But then if you do that, you get your normal distribution back. You move Twin Cannon to A and then Beula to D, right? There's your normal distribution.
That's alright, we'll just keep it as it is.
But alright, so that brings us to the end of the video. I thought this would be faster, but actually no. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want to get a better idea of what we're talking about, because it's been so long since you've seen the deck, well, feel free to hop into our old playlists for TCG Seasons 1, 2, and, why not Season 3. As usual, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.